Everything changes eventually, and fruits are no exception for this standard. Here are 10 different fruits that have changed either in reputation or in their entirety.
Tomato.
Maybe the most obvious on this rundown, the tomato is the thing that has changed most drastically in terms of reputation. For a very long time, it was regularly known to be a vegetable. Before the fact that it was indeed a fruit rose to prominence. These days, the saying, "Wisdom is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, whilst knowledge is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad," is said rather mockingly. In the 18th century, however, the tomato was a dreaded fruit. Known as a poison apple, due to some extent to its comparative appearance to the basic family unit apple, in both size and shading, and the influence that it had on aristocrats. It was ultimately revealed that the reason why it had such an adverse effect on the upper class was because the acid in the tomato brought out the lead in fancy cutlery, causing the user to fall ill after consuming the fruit.
Peach.
Specific reproducing has changed the peach over the course of the hundreds of years to be ordinarily bigger than they were initially. Once multiple times smaller than the stone at the center of a common peach, generations of farmers have manipulated the fruit and highlighted its more favorable qualities. It is said that the original peach, which is presumed to have been no bigger than a cherry, was definitely more in accordance with the flavor of a lentil than it was sweet.
Banana.
Many have wondered why banana-flavored candy doesn't taste at all like a real standard banana. It is rather undeniably more flavorful and sweeter. The taste difference is because of the way that bananas in the mid-20th century were somewhat different to the ones that we have today. The modern common banana that can be found in many stores today is a breed known as Cavendish, which rose to prominence after the Panama disease came and its organism cleared out the then famous Gros Michel banana. Numerous sorts of banana have gotten wiped out in this manner since the 19th century, with certain fungi complicating the lives of banana farmers. But no recent incident has had as much of an impact as wiping out the Gros Michel did. In spite of the flavor of normal bananas having been diverse for over 50 years now, the candies actually have precisely the same flavor, because of them being so popular. The adjustment in taste isn't anything contrasted with what bananas once looked like, however, as they once contained huge, hard seeds that would make eating them undeniably more troublesome than it is today.
Apricot.
The apricot was at one time a staple of the food supplies given to troops in the Second World War, known for its capacity to cause the body to feel fuller for longer. After a series of engine failures and technical issues on tanks that were transporting the fruit, the apricot acquired an unfavorable reputation. After a short time, the fruit was not permitted inside military vehicles, due just to the notions of the Marines who had seen such issues. The reality of the situation is, all proportions were separated similarly among every shipment, implying that if a tank were to separate, one would definitely discover apricots present among the provisions. A staff sergeant, when examined concerning this notion, affirmed that it was still alive and well, even a long time after the Second World War.
Watermelon.
The watermelon has not generally been smooth and red once opened up. How could this be known? Well, the artist Giovanni Stanchi painted a variety of fruit, including that of a newly cut watermelon. It just takes a look at the canvas to notice that the watermelon depicted looks vastly different to the more modern versions of the fruit. This is because since the 17th century, it has been domesticated and selectively bred to produce as much food as possible. Another imperative change that has happened is the adjustment in shading from a dark shade to a brighter, more vibrant red. Through Stanchi's painting, the fruit has been perfectly preserved for hundreds of years, if only in image.
Durian.
The durian fruit normally has an influence in numerous Southeast Asian dishes just as meds and sweets. However, it is most popular for its horrendous scent. In 2020, a post office in Schweinfurt, Germany, was evacuated and emergency services were called because a durian fruit sent in the post had sent the staff and customers into panic. The fruit resulted in 6 of the workers being rushed to hospital, because of the doubt that the impactful smell was a kind of hazardous gas. The fruit's excruciating quality has prompted the rules being changed in the rapid mass transit in Singapore, with it being banned without exception on its underground. Durians currently show up on signs denying smoking, food and flammable goods. Scientists charged with researching the fruit and its peculiar nature have discovered that it is the combination of many different chemicals that produce the scent, with 4 of those synthetic compounds being previously unknown to science.
Apple.
Whilst many of the fruits on this list differ greatly to the form that they once took, the regular apple imparts numerous characteristics to its archetype. It is in taste that it varies so significantly, as the fruit that we regularly purchase from our supermarkets is far sweeter than what could be found prior to the domestication of the apple. Whilst few facts are known about the beginning of this fruit's specific timeline, one detail that has survived is the fact that it once tasted far more sour than it does today. One vital factor it partakes in the same manner as its archetype is the deadliness of its pips. Apple pips contain a substance that converts to cyanide in the human body, so should be avoided in large quantities.
Eggplant.
The eggplant has a rich and varied history, during which they have appeared as various shades and sizes. While the modern eggplant is ordinarily known to be purple, previous incarnations of the fruit have been green, yellow and white. One key difference between the modern and the former eggplant is the fact that it used to contain a rather prominent spine that ran from the bottom of the fruit to the root. This perspective has been deserted for similar reasons as to why the watermelon got more fuller and larger, to allow for more food to be taken from each crop. They used to be far rounder. Like the state of a tomato, instead of being the enormous, long fruit that they are today.
Blueberries.
In most of berries filled in the US exist small transparent worms. These bugs started to show up in these fruits in 2008 and are referred to scientists as Drosophila suzukii, a consumable worm that are no harm at all. Over time, these worms develop into a specific kind of fruit flies, unless eaten of course. Once again, these creatures are harmless. The worms are small and white, often described as essentially transparent, and they only become fruit flies once the fruit has rotted, permitting the worms inside to dip under into the soil. They might be an issue to farmers, however to everyday fruit pickers the worms are not an issue. They can be consumed as any other fruit can be, without issue.
Kiwi.
Many associate the kiwi with New Zealand, but in reality the fruit originated in China. It was simply a marketing trick that transferred the credit to the South Pacific nation, which went so far as to change the name of the fruit in question. Originally, the kiwi was known as the Chinese gooseberry, which when in its original Chinese meant the macaque fruit. Macaques are a sort of monkeys found all through Asia explicitly, and it was their adoration for the kiwi that brought about it being named after them. The adoption of the kiwi by New Zealand has been alluded to as a botanical hijack, since it included seeds being brought into the country from China, initially by Mary Isabel Fraser in 1904, who offered them to a New Zealand farmer who planted them and tended to the tree. It was not until 1910 that the first kiwis grew in the country, and it was only 50 years after that they were rebranded as kiwi fruit in 1959. The goal of this rebranding was to free the fruit from the far less desired gooseberries title. Needless to say, kiwis became popular and are still a staple of fruit bowls to this day. Fun fact: New Zealanders refer to themselves, and their national bird, as kiwis, and to the fruit exclusively as kiwi fruit. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks.